Hi, my name is Brian R. Pellar. I am the sculptor who did form number 2. I actually dropped out of high school when I was 17. I dropped out, took the GED, and I joined the U.S. Navy. I ended up 2 years on the USS Midway in Japan. I ended up taking 8 college classes on the USS Midway, and I ended up getting an associate's degree in science while I was on Guam in the Navy. And while I was in the Navy on active duty, I applied to UC Irvine. And so I showed up here in the fall of 1983 as an undergrad in biology. So I ended up being a bio major for 3 years. And my 3rd year I spent over in England as part of the university's education abroad program. It took me in directions I never foresaw. I decided I didn't want to go to med school and that I am going to be an artist and a writer. Prior to that experience, I was kind of struggling with the idea of being an artist and a doctor. And so I started taking art classes before I went. And one of the art classes that I took was ceramics. The assignment was to make artistic furniture. And so I decided to pick the human body as a table. And that is the genesis of form number 2, the table. With the clay, I just made this amazing sculpture called the table, presented it to the class, and it went over really well. When I wheeled it out to take pictures of it, a woman walked up to me and handed me a rose, and then she walked away. Didn't say a word. And right then, it was so powerful, that experience. I just knew that art has this unique power to change someone's life and move you like that. And it really changed me. It really had a big impact on me. And anyway, it's kind of fitting that I'm talking about this in a rose garden. After that, there was an art show that was held right here in the administration building, and I wheeled in the table, and it was there for a while. It got a lot of a reaction. Someone actually wrote an article about it as it's symbolizing Chicano's experience. And then someone else did an art piece on it, a dance piece around the table. And then after a while, they asked me to keep it there. After the art show ended, they said, well, why don't you donate it to the school? So I donated it to the Cross-Cultural Center. And that's where I left it as an undergrad. Years later, when I came back to graduate school, and I went to the Cross-Cultural Center to check on it, but it wasn't there. Later on, when I came back, in 1999, I decided to look into it a little bit further. After some sleuthing and some research, that a workman had actually stepped on it and damaged it and beyond repair, and they actually had to dispose of it. So I talked with the director, and we ended up talking to Vice Chancellor Gomez, and he said, hey, why don't we redo it over? So I said, sure, I'll redo the table. And so Gifford Myers gave me space in the ceramic studio, and I decided I was going to redo it. And I said, well, why don't we redo it, make it a little stronger in case someone doesn't step on it again. Maybe we should do it in bronze. And he said, yeah, that's a good idea. Sculpt it in clay, and we'll see about raising the money and making it a bronze. And so originally this was to go back in the Cross-Cultural Center. But I started sculpting it, and lo and behold, Vice Chancellor Gomez said, hey, I want to come over and see it. And he came over and he looked at it, and he went, whoa, this is coming out really cool. He said, I don't think that we should put it back in the Cross-Cultural Center. I think, maybe we should look for a place on campus. And then they got the funding for it, and they found this beautiful area to the Rose Garden to put it in. How did it get the name form number 2? Originally it was the table. But what happened was I started sculpting this, and I got a model. His name was Brian Lofi. He was a PhD student in electrical engineering. He was a big guy, over 6 feet, and I wanted to do the back really, really well. And this time I wanted to sculpt every inch of this, and I wanted that back to come out awesome. So when the time came to put the cloth over the back, I couldn't. It just threw me for a loop. It's almost like it took on a life of its own. And I had to listen to it. What does it need, not what I need? And then I realized that suddenly occurred to me, maybe put the cloth around it. And it just hit me. That's what it needed. The back was just too powerful, center of the piece, so I put the cloth around it. And then the New U went and did an article on it and said, this is a sculpture that's going to be put on campus. And we started talking about, instead of just form number 2, maybe doing form number 1, form number 2, form number 3, form number 4 different parts on campus. For form 1, it was over here in the social science. It would be curled up with just a hand coming out, almost in a fetal position. Form 2 here, the cloth, he's up, just about ready to stand up. Form 3, he is standing up, he is sitting up, holding a mask in his hands. The mask is symbolic of the questions, who am I, etc. And form 4, he's standing up and he's sure of himself, the direction of where he's going, but he's holding the mask in his hand. He doesn't have all the answers, but he's sure of the direction that his life is taking. But unfortunately, there was a change of direction. The dean, Jill Beck, gave the space to Myelin. She has a beautiful sculpture over there. I was approached by Keith Banks in the drama department and said, hey, the school doesn't have a chancellor's graduation mace for graduating. Can you design one? And I said, sure. And immediately I thought, oh, a graduation mace, right, that you hold for ceremony. And I immediately made a connection with the anteater mascot, that the head of an anteater looks just like the mace. And so immediately I did some drawings and I turned them in. And they actually went with it. It's kind of funny that I forgot about it, and so did everybody else. And it wasn't until many years later, actually just a couple of years ago, I came back to UCI because we're talking about doing a clock tower. And I'll return to that in a second. But so at the time, I was talking about the clock tower and I did some drawings and I was given a tour of the campus and we went to the alumni house and we're on the second floor. I happened to notice the mace against the wall and in its holder, and I said, is that the UCI graduation mace? And he goes, yeah. And I go, I designed that. And he goes, no way. But no one knew the history of it or how it came into being. And I said, yeah, I designed it. So I pulled up the old drawing from it and I gave it to them. And right now it's in the alumni house next to the mace. Actually got to go and be the mace marshal. And I got to hold up the mace that I designed and fire up the crowd. And it was just an amazing experience that I'll never forget. Chancellor Cicerone thought it'd be a great idea to have a clock tower because we don't have one. And I thought, boy, if you Google UC Berkeley, right? And what do you see? A clock tower. When you Google UCLA, you see Royce Hall. When you Google UC San Diego, you'll see the library. But when you Google UC Irvine, you'll see a plethora of disparate images. And I thought UCI needs a central symbol, an icon, right? And I thought a clock tower would be really cool to have. And I thought maybe putting it right here on this grassy knoll. And I wanted to design something that the world has never seen, something really unique, something that would just put UCI in the map. And so I designed a clock tower, very non-traditional, as a DNA double helix, 150 feet high. It spells out part of the human genome. And at the base of the clock tower, there'd be 4 figures, life-size bronze, nudes. And they're going around a ship's capstan. So instead of raising the anchor, they're winding the clock. And at the top of the clock tower, there is a marble white egg, and it will be over a silver horizon symbol. And again, it's all symbolic. And in a way that, the world has gotten to be so small, and I looked at it as a symbol of collective responsibility. And the 4 different people are 4 different races. And they're all looking up, and they're all winding the clock together. In a sense, they're creating the future, creating time, and thus the symbol of the egg as the sun, the Egyptian symbol Akhet. And the birth of a new dawn, a new age. I've submitted it, and a lot of people have gotten some really good feedback on the clock tower, so they're looking into options for fundraising. If that happens, again, I'd be very grateful. If it doesn't, that's okay too. again, I am very grateful for already having form number 2 here, and having designed the Chancellor's graduation mace. So anyways, thank you.